Welcome back to Josh Bearheart's Reading Room. I am Josh Bearheart Hawk, author of the journal, Legends and Tales, Creepy and Fun Stories to Tell Around the Campfire, and GPS Signal Lost, among others that will be coming out in the near future, but more on that in a different video. This video, we are continuing reading the journal, which is my debut novel. We are up to chapter 18 now, so if you just clicked on this video, this is the first video you've ever seen on my channel, I'll link a playlist up here. You can go back and start with chapter 1, so that way you can be completely caught up on the story. Because there's a lot that's going on. It's been wild and crazy. And the end of chapter 17 kind of hinted at, maybe Heath and Josh having some kind of a connection, maybe. And Heath finding out that he was left a mansion. So, a lot of crazy stuff happening. And we're going to find out more, but the first chapter, or the chapter 18 here, is going back. We're going back and finding out what happened, what's going on with Josh. This chapter is titled, What Will Be? Josh awoke with a start, looking around the room as if expecting to see someone else there. Finding he was alone, he began the process of calming his nerves. This dream had been more intense than any he could recall, and he was ready to get up and never go back to sleep. As he lay there, trying to build the energy to get out of bed, the sound of rain falling caught his attention. It was a sound he hadn't heard much lately, and he smiled as he pictured the wet leaves falling from the trees. Beautiful sunny days were awesome, but there was just something about the rain that made autumn the best. Rolling over, he climbed out of bed and made his way to the bathroom to start the day. Getting in the shower, he tried to wipe the memory of what had happened the night before from his mind. He had obviously been tired from digging and was hallucinating things. The car, the dream, the growling, it was all in his head. As he was washing the soap from his hair, the sound of his phone ringing caught him off guard, and he nearly slipped and fell. Stepping out of the shower and drying his hands, he reached over and saw the caller ID read Anonymous. Sliding the icon to answer the call, he placed the phone up to his ear. "Hello?" he answered. He wasn't buried in the grave. She knew the truth. Seek the place he was laid to rest, and you will find the answers you desire, a raspy, dry voice said. But before Josh could respond, the call ended. This was the first time he had heard the voice of another person in what felt like weeks, and all they did was spout riddles? Was this the same person who had been sending the mysterious messages and stalking him? One thing he knew for sure was that he was tired of the games and the riddles. Finishing his shower, he got dressed and ate breakfast like normal. Whoever the stalker was, they weren't going to string him along anymore. Going into his office, he sat down and pulled up his camera on his phone. He was going to document everything that was going on and upload a video, hoping someone would see it and be able to help. As he pressed record, the lights in the room went out. Sighing, he pressed on with what he wanted to say, using the light from the phone to illuminate him as he spoke. "Hey guys, I'm not sure if anyone will ever see this, but I need to get out. I need to get it out in the hopes that someone can help me. I'm being stalked by someone who's been blocking me from all contact with the outside world. I don't know who is doing this or how they're doing it, but I haven't seen or spoken to anyone in days. I've been outside my house several times, but there doesn't seem to be anyone around. If you see this video, please reach out to the police in Newark, Ohio, and tell them I am trapped at 1455 Runaway Lane, and I need help. I don't know what this guy's endgame is, but I want to escape before it happens. I'm begging you, please send help." After finishing the recording, he uploaded it to his usual site and waited. His followers were usually really quick to watch videos, and he assumed it would only be a few minutes before someone would see it and comment that they were sending help. After a couple of hours, he still hadn't received any comments or any sign that anyone had heard his cry. Checking the page where he had uploaded the video, he would find it wasn't there. It was as if it had been removed by someone, even though he was the only one who could take it down. Checking on his phone, the video was missing there as well. This couldn't be happening. There had to be some logical explanation for the video disappearing. Maybe he had imagined making it. He hadn't been sleeping well lately at all. Perhaps he was slowly losing his mind. Deciding that maybe he hadn't really pressed record, he tried again. He made sure the phone was actually recording, But when he finished, he found there was no video this time either. As he was trying to bring himself to terms with the fact that he was losing his mind, his phone made a ding, signaling a new text message. "Stop trying to break the rules. No one can help you." Without thinking, he tossed the phone across the room, expecting it to hit the wall and shatter. To his shock, the phone stopped just before hitting the wall and landed safely on the carpet below. Another notification sounded as it came to rest. Walking across the room, he picked up the phone and read the new message. "It's not going to be that easy. Find Mark Appleton's true resting place, and you will find answers and an escape." This was a major escalation. Blocking calls was one thing, but the amount of control this person had over his life now seemed impossible. The videos not recording or uploading could be explained with some kind of software, but stopping the phone in midair and causing it to slowly fall to the ground? It just wasn't possible. Sitting back down at his desk, Josh pulled up a web browser and started searching for anything that could explain what was happening. He didn't believe in the supernatural, but things were starting to leave the realm of the explainable for him. His searching proved to be in vain, as every result that came up referenced Mark Appleton and his real burial place. After trying to word his search in every way he could think of, he finally gave up. "Fine, I'll do it your way," he said to no one. Beginning with his usual newspaper searches, he started reading every article he could find around the time of Mark Appleton's death. He found the obituary he had already read, as well as a couple of other articles mentioning Mr. Appleton's generous nature, but nothing pointed to where he was actually buried. The only references to the funeral that he found said that Mark Appleton was buried in the Fredericktown City Cemetery. As he was about to just completely give up, one article that he had already passed over caught his eye. Again. It mentioned James Raven attending the burial of his uncle, M.A. Could this be the same James that Heath had referenced? Reading further down, the place of burial was listed as a crypt in a small cemetery that Josh had visited a couple of years prior. The cemetery itself sat next to a church in the middle of nowhere, and he couldn't remember anything standing out about it other than one small mausoleum. "I guess that would be as good a place as any to check out," he said, looking around for the invisible stalker he knew was listening. A message of "yes" on his phone confirmed his suspicion. The drive to the Walker Cemetery was no different than any other drive he had taken in the past week. No other cars on the road and no people to be seen anywhere. While this hadn't been suspicious to him before, he was starting to notice how off everything seemed. He wasn't ready to admit something supernatural was happening, but he couldn't really discount it either. As he pulled into the familiar cemetery, his eyes fell on the small mausoleum right away. It barely looked big enough to hold a casket, and the stone door would be the biggest hurdle to overcome. Stepping out of his car, he shivered in the evening air. Pulling a crowbar from the trunk, he began making his way through the cemetery. A thick mist clung to the ground, and the occasional drop of rain landed on his head as he moved toward the small building. The ground made squishing noises below his boots as he walked, adding to the sound of crickets chirping in the low light. Approaching the doorway, he noticed the initials M.A. carved across the top of the arch, with the words, "Beloved brother, friend, and mentor," carved below them. This had to be the right place, but getting in would be another matter. Placing the end of the crowbar between the stone slab and the frame, he began trying to force the door open. Giving it everything he had for several minutes, it became apparent that this door was not going to budge with muscle alone. There had to be another way. Going back to the car, he exchanged the crowbar for a sledgehammer and grabbed a flashlight to illuminate the area before heading back. Setting the light down on a nearby headstone and pointing it at the entry, he proceeded to raise the hammer above his head and slam it into the door. A couple of small chips came off the rock, but it didn't budge. Several minutes and about 24 swings later, he collapsed on the ground with his back to the building, no closer to gaining entry. "How can any piece of rock be this damn impossible to move or break?" he said to the darkness that had enveloped the cemetery. Tossing the hammer to the side, he tried to remember if there was anything he had seen in the article or anywhere else that might be able to help him. There wasn't much that made sense to him anymore, so he was open to anything. Then he remembered the Caesar cipher and the riddle that had been revealed. Maybe this was the crypt it referenced? Even if that was the case, he didn't have a name, and it said to enter the crypt before calling out the name. Out of ideas, he decided to at least try saying the names he'd been able to uncover, starting with Mark Appleton. When that didn't work, he went down the list. Heath Borgiers. Nothing. James Raven. Nothing. Samantha. Nothing. Persephone. As he spoke the name of the mysterious missing girl, a sound from inside the tomb caused him to jump. At first, there was only a slight rumble, but within seconds it became a loud scraping, and the door to the building began to move. Getting to his feet, Josh grabbed his flashlight and looked into what he expected to be a small space, only to see a set of stairs leading down. Hesitating for a moment, he took a deep breath and stepped into the abyss. Heath opened his eyes in the morning light to see Samantha staring at him. The sight wasn't unpleasant, but it was a little unexpected. "Are you watching me sleep?" he muttered. "No, I'm watching you wake up." "I was watching you sleep," she said, smiling as she kissed his cheek. "I had the craziest dream that we went out to this house in the middle of nowhere and met this strange little old man," Heath said, hoping it really had been a dream. "Yeah, that was no dream. I expect he's going to be calling for us any minute, as I've been smelling bacon for the last 20 minutes or so." Rolling over, she climbed out of bed and headed for the bathroom. Heath wasn't ready to start the day, but her mention of bacon brought the smell to his attention, and he couldn't resist getting up as well. After freshening up, Samantha and Heath followed their noses to the large dining room downstairs, where they found several large plates holding various breakfast items. Their host was nowhere to be seen, but they decided he was probably close by, and giving into their rumbling stomachs, they began piling food onto plates. As they sat down at the large dining table, Hermes came through the door from the kitchen carrying a plate of sweet rolls. "Ah, I see you're awake, and you've found breakfast," he said cheerily. "Yeah, I hope it's okay we started eating. We were both starving," Heath said. "Oh yes, that's what it's here for. If you hadn't come down, I was going to come get you in a few minutes." "The food's delicious, but after breakfast we really should be going," Samantha said. "I understand, but I do need Heath to sign some documents to formally take possession of the house and grounds. If you do want to, that is," Hermes said, turning to look at Heath. "I hadn't decided what I want to do yet. It's just so much and so unexpected. Can I have a few days to think about it?" Heath asked. "I'm afraid Mr. Appleton's will stipulates that you must sign the paperwork on the initial visit. Once you leave, you will not have a chance to change your mind." "Can we have a moment alone, Mr. Cantrell?" Samantha asked as she locked eyes with Heath. "Certainly, Miss Samantha. I'll just start cleaning up the kitchen, and you can call me when you're ready," Hermes said, smiling as he turned to leave. Once he had gone, Samantha scooted closer to Heath and lowered her voice as she spoke. "He's stalling, trying to keep you from leaving. There's something else going on here." "I know, but am I just supposed to walk away? I feel like there's something on this property that will help us close this out. Hermes is suspicious, but I don't think he's a threat," Heath said, trying to keep his voice as low as hers. "He may not be a threat, but something feels off about this whole thing to me. I don't think you should sign anything without reading it thoroughly, and I want to know more about this guy," she said. "All right, how about you go and research Mr. Cantrell, and I'll hang around here and read over whatever documents he has for me. I won't sign anything until you get back, and that way we can cover our bases while keeping our options open," Heath suggested, leaning back in his chair and folding his arms as he spoke. "I hate everything about that idea, but I guess it's better than nothing. I'll reach back out to my contact and see if he can't dig up some more information on this property and the caretaker. Just don't do anything stupid while I'm gone. We both know you're helpless without me." The corners of her mouth turned up in a half smile as she said the last line. "You know me too well. Just call me when you're back at the office and keep me in the loop," he replied, smiling back at her. "I'll be fine, I promise." They informed Hermes of their plan, withholding the information involving the background check they would be doing on him, and he agreed to give them some time to make the decision as long as Heath stayed in the house. After saying goodbye, Samantha left for the car. As soon as she made it back to the office, she phoned the house and let Heath know she made it and promised to call him after she heard from her contact. It would be 3 days before she had the information she needed. But when she tried to call, she heard only the sound of an operator saying the line had been disconnected. So it's chapter 18, getting a little spicy there, trying to something's going on, right? And I want to hear in the comments below what you think is going to be going on in the next few chapters. So we've got chapter 19, 20, 21, 22, and 23. 5 chapters to go. The story's going to be wrapping up in pretty quick succession here. And so I want to know, like, what do you guys think is going on here? There's been a lot of clues. There's been a lot of hints as far as what's happening with Josh and where Heath's going. So I really want to know, what do you think is going to happen in the next few chapters? That being said, if you're watching this as it comes out, the next chapter is available on Patreon now. I released all of the chapters early on Patreon, as well as behind the scenes stuff. Some extra little tidbits and things like that don't necessarily make it to YouTube will be over on Patreon for anybody that's interested. Helps support the channel and helps me kind of keep growing and moving forward. That being said, if you did enjoy the video, if you like what you've seen so far, hit the like button. Let me know that you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you're not already subscribed, but I mean, really, 18 chapters in, you're probably subscribed, right? And yeah, that's all I've got. Stay tuned, buckle in, because there's going to be a lot of crazy stuff happening in the next couple of chapters. So I want to thank you all for watching. Everybody have a great rest of your day. I'll see you in the next one.